Another operation in Crimea. Zaluzhnyi made a serious statement regarding the counteroffensive, and there are significant issues for the Russians toward Tokmak. This and much more in today's episode. So, without unnecessary words, today everything is leading to a major setback for the Russians in the Zaporizhzhia direction. Today, everyone is discussing Zaluzhny's phrase that the Ukrainian armed forces are on the verge of breaking through the front. He made this statement because American officials are urging to concentrate all forces in one direction, arguing that otherwise a breakthrough won't be possible and such military assistance won't be available next year. Chief Commander of the Ukrainian Armed Forces Valery Zaluzhny had a phone conversation with his American counterpart, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff of the United States General Mark Milley. The parties discussed their situation on the front. Zaluzhny described how the Ukrainian counteroffensive is unfolding. According to the latest data from the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense, the Ukrainian army liberated 17 square kilometers in the south during the offensive within a week, totally 130 square kilometers. In particular, the Ukrainian defense forces continued their offensive operations in the Melitopol and Berdyansk directions. And today we can see that all forces are concentrated specifically in the Zaporizhzhia direction, and attacks and advances of our units are ongoing without interruption. But before we continue, I'd like to ask you to like, subscribe to the channel and click the bell to stay updated on all the latest news. Today, for the umpteenth days in a row, there have been reports about the Ukrainian armed forces' offensive actions. They have already pushed beyond the limits of Robotyne, and today battles are underway for Novopokrovka and on approach to Verbove. However, the most crucial battles are yet to come. This is because the Ukrainian forces are approaching the main Russian defensive line, which is situated just behind these two populated areas. The toughest fights will begin here, and if indeed more forces have been committed to the offensive today and the Ukrainian forces continue to break through, then, as we can see after the first main defensive line before Tokmak, there is a second line that would also need to be breached. Well, beyond that, if the Comet decides to liberate Tokmak, there are numerous fortifications created around the city as well. Here you could say there is another defensive line, which means that toughest battles are still ahead. That's why American experts advise concentrating all forces on a single direction for a breakthrough. After Tokmak, we observe that there are mostly no new defensive lines leading up to Melitopol, and if the Ukrainian armed forces manage to advance quickly to prevent the occupiers from rebuilding new fortifications, then the progress will be much faster afterwards, roughly similar to the initial counteroffensive in the Kharkiv direction. A well-known Russian war correspondent expressed concern about the ability of battle-worn Russian troops to defend themselves from potential future Ukrainian attacks in the Robotyne area, which is 10 kilometers south of Orikhiv. Again, the backdrop of statement that combat actions have shifted to the southern part of Robotyne. He asserted that many Russian servicemen fighting near Robotyne have been on the front line since the start of the Ukrainian counteroffensive, and that these units are grappling with a lack of reinforcements at the front. This assertion aligns with Institute for the Study of War assessment that Russian forces fighting in the western part of the Zaporizhzhia region are defending against Ukrainian attacks since the beginning of the counteroffensive without rotation or significant reinforcement. Overall, for now, we are waiting to see how events will unfold. But the key point is that the Russian plan for a counteroffensive towards Kupiansk has failed. Today, we can clearly see that all the attempts at a breakthrough have ceased. Today, only shelling is ongoing, and there have been no changes in the front line for a week. In the area of Svatove, despite Russian attempts to advance, no successes are being recorded, and the Ukrainian forces are successfully repelling all attacks. In the Kreminna and Siversk regions, the occupiers are attempting to shell Ukrainian positions along the entire front line, creating an appearance of an impending major offensive. However, no significant attacks have been carried out, and an attempt to break into the village of Bestele was unsuccessful, with no new offensive actions observed. Nonetheless, according to British intelligence, Russian occupation forces are aiming to push westward toward the Oskil River to establish a buffer zone around the Lugansk region. Reports suggest that British intelligence anticipates a potential increase in the intensity of Russian offensive actions on the Kupiansk-Liman axis within the next 2 months. Information from intelligence sources indicate that the Ukrainian Armed Forces counteroffensive is exerting pressure on Russian forces in the Bakhmut area and to the south. However, the western group of Russian Federation troops continues to conduct minor attacks in the Kupiansk-Liman sector, where limited local advances are taking place. In the Bakhmut direction, the occupiers continue to reinforce Klishchiivka in an effort to prevent the Ukrainian forces from establishing a foothold in the village. They conduct shelling and periodically launch counterattacks, but the Ukrainian forces gradually advance and push the Russian forces further beyond the village. A similar situation is observed in the areas of Andriivka and Kurdyumivka. Tactical battles are ongoing with successes achieved by our units. Additionally, the Ukrainian forces report that they have gained firing control over a portion of the Horlivka-Bakhmut highway, thanks to having secured necessary high ground positions earlier. In the Avdiivka direction, the situation remains complex, but under control. A controlled situation isn't just a statement. In reality, the Ukrainian forces have held the front line for a considerable period, and tactically the Russian forces are unable to make progress. All breakthrough attempts are successfully repelled, and the front line remains unchanged. The situation in Marinka is also in favor of the Ukrainian forces. Even if the occupiers manage to advance a few streets ahead, as there are no defenses left, only ruins, the Ukrainian forces still manage to disable their equipment, and the front line remains static. Attacks on Novomykhailivka similarly result in losses for the occupiers, with no advancements made. In the direction of Vuhledar, perhaps Zaluzhnyi has taken hit of foreign expats, as we currently observe no new assault operations are being conducted, possibly indicating a decision to concentrate all forces on the Zaporizhia axis. In turn, the occupiers are presently only engaging in shelling without launching offensives. However, they are amassing a significant amount of artillery closer to the front line to prevent the Ukrainian forces from advancing towards Staromlinivka, which serves as the last line of defense. Beyond it, while they may be constructing a new defensive line, the main one is situated about 10 kilometers away, and if reached, it would lead to open fields. Progress can be relatively swift with the availability of modern equipment which exists today, and supply lines are ongoing. In the direction of Kherson, the Russian units are in a very poor state. They consistently complain that their commanders are not fulfilling their functions and are only involved in profiteering. However, the Ukrainian forces are capitalizing on the situation and calmly conducting reconnaissance while neutralizing Russian positions on the left bank. It's possible that there will be new advances in the near future. There is also official information that yesterday the Ukrainian forces struck the 126th Brigade of the Black Sea Fleet in Crimea. The group of unmanned aerial vehicles successfully targeted the occupiers. At this point, it can be confirmed that several dozen Russians have been killed or wounded, ammunition storage areas were hit, and military equipment suffered significant damage as well. The occupiers proved to be completely unprepared for this special operation by the Security Service of Ukraine and the Ukrainian Armed Forces. Meanwhile, the President of Ukraine announced progress in negotiations with international partners regarding the execution of existing aircraft.
Короткий звіт за цей день. Усі домовленості, які ми привезли додому від наших партнерів, вже почали реалізовувати. Передусім літаки F-16. Завдання очевидні. Міжнародники – це максимальне розширення тренувальних місій, військові – максимальне прискорення підготовки інфраструктури, відправлення пілотів, інженерів, повне забезпечення готовності України. І всі разом максимальне наближення моменту, коли F-16 допоможуть нам тримати подалі російських терористів. Провів сьогодні нараду за підсумками візитів, тривалу нараду, питання координації саме по літаках, підготовка нових оборонних пакетів, саме з таким наповненням, яке потрібно нашим воїнам і про яке вони мені говорили, коли відвідував фронт. Готуємо і нові наші міжнародні заходи на осінь, нові кроки у відносинах з партнерами, які мають посилити Україну.
That's all from me. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to support the channel with likes and comments. See you next time. Bye bye.